Hi everyone, my name is Kayana Yee, and today I'll be discussing whether restraining the Fairness Doctrine is a good solution to increasing partisanship in the media. So, what is the Fairness Doctrine? The Fairness Doctrine was a policy introduced by the Federal Communication Commission in 1949. Its goal was simple. Broadcasters who aired controversial issues had to present contrasting viewpoints. The doctrine was meant to promote balanced coverage and ensure the public could hear multiple sides of important topics. It remained in force for decades, but was abolished in 1987 amid concerns it discouraged broadcasters from covering controversial issues at all and potentially chilled free speech. So why do people want it back? Well, in today's media environment, many Americans perceive major news outlets as deeply partisan. Studies show that trust in traditional media is low, and viewers increasingly consume news that reinforces their existing beliefs. Partisanship isn't just a public concern. It affects how citizens engage with democracy and interpret facts. Some proponents of returning the Fairness Doctrines are: it could reduce extreme biases by forcing outlets to present opposing views. Second, it might improve public understanding and decrease polarization. And thirdly, it would enhance democratic debate. So what are some concerns about bringing it back? Well, while the idea is appealing, there are serious challenges to restraining the Fairness Doctrine today. Firstly, free speech issues. The Supreme Court has emphasized that the government cannot compel speech or dictate editorial content without violating the First Amendment. Critics say fairness mandate risks government overreach into speech decisions. Secondly, digital complexity. The original doctrine applied to broadcast television and radio channels with limited space and licensing. Today's media ecosystem includes cable, streaming, podcasts, blogs, and social platforms. It would be extremely difficult to define what constitutes broadcasting in this environment. And thirdly, the chilling effect. As the FCC found in the 1980s, forced fairness can make broadcasters avoid controversial topics entirely to avoid regularity penalties, which actually reduces public discourse. This was found in the FCC report in 1987. Legal scholar Marvin Amard notes that forcing broadcasters to allot specific time for competing views can be unconstitutional because it changes the nature of editorial dissertations. So why restraining it isn't a good idea? After examining the history and legal concerns, I believe that restraining the Fairness Doctrine is not a practical or effective solution for a modern media partisanship. The doctrine was designed for a much simpler media landscape. Applying it today would not only be difficult to enforce, but could also create unintended consequences that harm free expression. Instead, we should focus on alternative solutions to reduce media polarization and improve public understanding. So what are those alternative solutions to increasing partisanship? Well, here's a few approaches. Promote media literacy. By teaching citizens how to evaluate sources critically, it helps them recognize biases and misinformation. Programs in schools and communities can help people understand how news is created and shaped. Secondly, support nonprofit and public media. Organizations like NPR and PBS focus on reporting that is less driven by ratings and profit, and research supports that non-commercial media often offers broader perspectives. Pew Research Center, 2020. Thirdly, encourage transparent standards and accountability. News outlets can adopt and publicly share editorial standards. When mistakes happen, and they obviously happen, transparent corrections build trust. Some social platforms are experimenting with contextual labeling and independent fact-checking partnerships to tackle misinformation without imposing speech mandates. So, in summary, while the Fairness Doctrine was a well-intentioned effort to reduce bias, it was tied to a media world that no longer exists. Reintroducing it today would likely raise constitutional issues and be difficult to implement across the diverse digital platform. Instead, we should foster media literacy, encourage independent public journalism, and support transparency as healthier and more sustainable ways to combat media partisanship. Thank you. And some of my references for today was The Problem with Fairness, Government Regulation, and Editorial Freedom, the Journal of Media and Law, Federal Communications Commission, and Pew Research Center. Thank you so much.